It's not very good.
I would definitely put it in the top 10.
So good.
It's kind of a mess.
A great work of cinema.
Train wreck.
Beyond a slasher, beyond a jump scare.
More thought has gone into the story.
Respecting the source material.
Extremely gory, extremely violent.
The lighting, the sets, the costuming.
Extremely scary.
Well staged, well shot, well acted.
I saw the comedy for what it is.
Relentless.
It was just really, really good.
This is pretty cool.
Another reason why I think it's
So good.
We do have a system, and it works.
Hello, 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 out there in YouTube and podcast land. You have reached Johnny Has the Keys, where we talk about horror movies and science fiction films and those key elements that lift and or separate them from the average genre fare. Could be good, could be bad, definitely memorable. If you're joining us today for the first time, we want to welcome you. We are an unscripted podcast. David and I are old friends that have been talking movies since the dawn of time. And we decided about, 7 years ago almost, that we would start doing it for the general public. And we hope you find our ramblings and insight interesting. For those of you coming back, you already know this and obviously do. I am here today with my good friend, David Horton. He's our co-host. How are you doing today, David?
Doing good. Busy season, as always, at the beginning of our seasons, and so lots of stuff to do. But we like to start with a little icebreaker of what have you done in your genre week, or have you done anything genre-related? And I actually got to check a box off of my list this week, which keeps getting longer because, A, you keep recommending stuff to me, and then other stuff keeps coming out. But I got to finally see a little film by Fede Alvarez, which was written by him based on the works of Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Schuster, called Alien Romulus. I know you had seen this before, and it was on my list forever and forever, and we're both Alien fans, of course, and I like the entire franchise overall, but
You don't like the Ridley Scott revisitation, do you?
I don't like Prometheus or the other one that he
You're
did.
talking like the first four or whatever, maybe.
Correct. And some of the crossovers. I don't even mind the one called Predators, which is Predator versus Alien.
Okay.
The second time around, it's like the second reboot. Earlier in the genre week, I mentioned the reboot that took place a couple of years ago. So you can reboot a series really well. That's why I said, because I know that Alien Earth, Noah Hawley's series is coming. I haven't seen it yet, but I know it's coming, and this re-energized the franchise, so to speak. Got a lot of buzz and got high ratings everywhere and everything. I remember you saying you really liked it, right?
It's a great popcorn movie. There's a few logic gaps, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. He's very good at pace and scares, and that's what works really well in it. It's got great production design. It really feels like it's in the Alien universe. It's supposedly set between Alien and Aliens, so it's in that window in between, so it definitely has the technology of that. I did think story-wise, it drug in places, and overall leaving it, I want to watch it again just to see, but I felt like I wasn't as scared of the alien as I was the situation they're in and the ticking clock of they're about to hit these rings and the facehuggers. It's like he gave them an entire presence to themselves just in numbers and crawling and everything else. But in the scene near the end when she's blasting all the aliens, there's so many aliens, and she's just blasting them all, and I'm like, I don't feel any threat or menace or fear here. But then the scene after that where they're trying to get through the weightless acid blood, that was a chilling little scene and really cool and a neat idea.
It's like air aerobic or air yoga.
There's so much in the original Alien that we love so much, and it's based on the alien coming from everywhere and merging into the background, and this sense of dread and suspense and where will it be. And in this one, there's not that. It's always where you think it will be in the shot. It's always there. It's set up. It's pretty telegraphed. And then it cuts to a close-up and you see the dripping face again. And you're like going, okay, you're doing the same cliches that Ridley set up 40 years or 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Whatever. But overall, I recommend it. If you do like the alien movies, you like space and monsters in space, this is a good one. And it's a good one to watch as opposed to like Life, that other one with an alien on board a space station and all that. So, yeah, go. Fetty knows is scary.
Before we go on, I was going to say you may want to check what you have running because your max headrumming out a little bit. Your mouth wasn't matching your words. I was going to say that we are recording early, and by the time this airs, the Noah Hawley series will have already been out.
True.
So
true.
I am really excited about it, and hopefully I will be a few episodes down the road when I've actually seen it.
Yeah.
Because I think Noah Hawley's got a great track record with Fargo and Legion, and I'm just really curious to see what he's going to do with this Alien Earth series.
Yeah, I'm just curious that it's going to be Earth-centric. One of the things I love about the Alien movies is the production design. This one had great production design. The sets, the lighting, everything was awesome.
I loved the whole thing with the planet rings and like almost like an asteroid belt around the planet and them trying to avoid crashing into it. Well, I did a little something different. Actually, it was a lot different for my genre week. I watched a movie that blew me away. I had read things about it, did not know what it was about. I got a free thing of Showtime for a couple of months because of something we did with Paramount. I can't remember. It's on Showtime right now. It is called Strange Darling.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
I've heard of that title, and there's somebody affiliated with it that I like.
Well, maybe you know the girl because I know the guy, and it's basically a two-person cast.
Okay.
Well, the girl is Willa Fitzgerald. Do you know her?
Nope.
Okay, because I don't know her either, but I have a feeling we're going to know her. She's going to be like one of those.
Mia Goth.
Yeah, or what's
Florence.
the Pugh? Yeah, Florence Pugh. She's really good. I know I often mention adding stuff to the list, but I am like, wow, I'm going to expedite this for season 9 because the whole time I was watching it, I was like, this is crazy. David has got to see this. It was produced by some horror folks that also brought us the movies like Barbarian and Late Night with the Devil.
Yep.
So
I haven't seen either one of them.
And this is not really a horror movie. It is a suspense serial killer like thriller.
Okay.
It was written and directed by J.T. Malner. Is that maybe who you're thinking of? Because
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, it sounds familiar too. And I did not know anything he had done. However, Giovanni Ribisi was not only a producer, he was the cinematographer for it. As well.
Really?
Yes, it looks really good. So now I guess the actor who we know from, oh my God, if I go back, I first remember him from a movie called Suburbia with Steve Zahn, but he also played Phoebe's brother on Friends. We saw him in an X-Files episode called DPO where he was the Lightning Kid. He's just a great actor. And now he's apparently a cinematographer too. The other cast member, I mentioned Willa Fitzgerald, who I've never really heard of, is Kyle Gallner, who has been on my radar for about a year now. I think he got popular on Veronica Mars, but I know him because he's been in a lot of horror movies here lately. He was in the Scream reboots. He was in that movie, The Passenger, where he plays like a gunman that goes on a rampage. Okay. And he's in both Smile movies. And now he's in this. He reminds me of a healthier looking Johnny Depp.
Okay.
Yeah, like he's got a little more muscle on him and he doesn't look zonked out.
Yeah.
But he's great. Got a lot of chemistry. A synopsis is nothing is what it seems when a twisted, one night stand spirals into a serial killer's vicious murder spree. That's all I'm going to say, except it is told in a nonlinear plot line. So you're seeing things out of order, and it even has chapters, and it'll go chapter 3, chapter 5, chapter 2, and you're like, wow. It gets 96% on Rotten Tomatoes with 157 reviews. I'd bump it up to 100. I was blown away by this movie.
Interesting. That's really high praise. And it sounds like, what was the one that you made me watch last year that was actually good? The one with the father-daughter serial killer team? Australian or New Zealand film? What was it? I can't remember the title of it now.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're thinking of The Loved One. No, this is a lot different. This is very American. Just, I don't know. You know how I am about nonlinear plot lines. I just love them. And the way this is done is just very creative because you're like, wait a minute, this happened then. So why is this happening now? The whole time you're like guessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, like Memento, the one that was told backwards, and then you've got some of those plot line, timeline stories. Of course, the first Westworld season that I love so much has some timeline issues and all that.
So you would also love this because it's very sexual, and there's a lot of sexual energy in it, too.
Well, I don't know what you mean by that, Tim, but I'll just force myself to. Let me bump that up on the list.
Yeah, I would bump that one up. And I don't know how the hell you're going to segue from that because what we talked about really, you could segue from yours maybe.
Well, Strange Darling and Alien Romulus. Actually, there's not a decent segue out of that. We are going in a totally different mood shift here for this particular one. If you're new to us, understand that we will spoil things, so you might want to go watch the film before then. If you haven't seen the film, I don't know why. It was a huge hit when it came out and has pretty much stayed popular. However, I will say that if you are looking for this movie, it might be difficult to find, and I'm sure we'll talk about that when we get to production. We are going to cover Ron Howard's little opus called Cocoon. Came out in 1985. It was a huge hit when it came out. It actually won some awards, which Tim will, I'm sure, go through when we get there, but had literally an all-star cast. And even those that weren't all-stars at the time, many of them you've seen since then in different roles. But when was the first time you saw this movie?
I'm pretty sure I saw it with you in a theater.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was your first time or what.
Yeah, I saw this movie in a theater with you. And video was all the rage back then in 1985, so we probably watched it a couple of times on videotape with our friends, like after rehearsals or something. And then I have not seen it since then. It's been 40 years.
Well, I'm glad you rejoined it.
Yeah.
What did you think on a rewatch?
I'll be honest with you, I love this movie still. I've got some questions as far as some of the sci-fi stuff, but not just the nostalgia of having seen it again after 40 years. There were parts that I was boohooing in. I was like, this is a really good movie. I love this movie. And it's got to do with all the cast, especially Wilford Brimley.
I feel exactly the same way. Watching it again, and even though I see some of the Spielberg influences, I see some of the 80s optimism of the world that we don't have anymore, and there's a couple of loopholes in there. You're going, okay, I have to kind of give you that one. But it literally is an enchanting film. It is such an emotional film in several different ways. It doesn't go so deep that you're either depressed or maudlin or feel smarmy, which, by the way, the second one does. The second one is not a good movie, the sequel to this, which is easy to find everywhere. As soon as you look up, it usually says The Return. But it's got a great cast. Ron Howard really respected his actors in how he let them do what they did. Brian Dennehy playing against type was really a cool idea for them to do. And the message and the themes all the way through it of what happens after we die? If we were given that choice, would we? Why do we stuff all of our elderly into homes separated away from their families? It's a very Western culture film as opposed to Eastern culture, which respects its elderly a lot more than we do here. So there's all of that. But yeah, I sat down firmly thinking, oh, this is going to be drippy, smarmy, syrupy, sweet, not like it. And started tearing up in places and then remembering moments and going, oh, yeah, that's so cool. And yeah, Wilford Brimley, who was only 49. He was nowhere near the age of the rest of the cast.
It's so funny. We've covered another movie where they had to age. Oh, I'm thinking of probably The Exorcist, where they age. What's
Max von Sydow.
Max von to the priest, because he's really not old in that movie. And they aged Wilford Brimley in this because he really wasn't. He was nowhere near as old as Jessica Tandy or Hume Cronin or any of those other guys.
Well, and he created that icon for himself that he never got over. He kept it the rest of his career. He was everybody's, he was grandfather to everybody. Yeah, he inherited it from Walter Cronkite.
That's funny.
But some details, it was released in 1985. It's written by Tom Benedict, who you see his credits a lot because he was a script doctor of sorts in the late 70s and early 80s. So he did a lot of script doctoring and playing with scripts and helping boost characters. It was actually based on a novel by David Saperstein.
And that name was familiar to me, and I couldn't remember why.
I didn't look him up to see further things, but it basically was another mega hit from Zanuck and Brown. Zanuck and Brown had become known because they essentially created the first blockbuster with Jaws. They were the producers for Jaws and Steven Spielberg and had a couple of hits since that time, since 75, and had gone on to do some television series and everything. Did you read and hear who was originally hired to direct it?
Do you want me to spoil it?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Robert Zemeckis was originally slated to direct it, the guy that did Back to the Future as well as Roger Rabbit and several things going forward.
After this, but before this, he had just done Romancing the Stone.
Oh, that's right. And it tanked or something.
Well, Fox, the heads of Fox, hated it and knew the movie would be a bomb, and so they fired him. Yeah. Zanuck and Brown found Ron Howard and hired him. Then Romancing the Stone opened. It was
a huge hit. Yeah, that's great.
Which was all fate because it allowed Zemeckis. Then his next project was
Back to the Future.
So, like you said, Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump. He's known for merging technology and film in a very creative way. And the other one he did is the huge Broadway hit now, the musical with Bruce Willis, where
the one
Goldie Hawn,
Death Becomes Her. Yes, I just watched that movie not too long ago.
Yeah, see, that's Robert Zemeckis too. So he was very good at doing that, and I don't know if he would have been the right director for this. Honestly,
he might have brought more innovation to it. Who knows?
Maybe, but I don't think it needed innovation. It needed what Ron Howard does best, which is direct these really cool actors and let them do what they do well. Mm-hmm. Even a modest script like Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, Ron Howard still directed very well. It was still a good movie. It was based on an okay book, so it's going to be an okay movie.
Yeah, but I got curious while you were talking. I could not remember the beginning of Ron Howard's career. Well, obviously, if you go way back, it's playing Opie on the Andy Griffith Show and Richie on Happy Days. But I was like, what was his first movie? And the one I remember is Night Shift. Yeah. And so I went back and looked, and he did Night Shift and Splash. And that was really, other than television stuff, that was really all he did before this movie. And this is a great movie. This is like Spielberg-esque as far as direction. So I think this put him over the top, even though a lot of people would probably say Splash did.
Well, Splash was a particular genre. This is a better taking on that genre. Splash would have been nothing without Tom Hanks in that role. That's what really worked. For this one, again, it's the cast that Howard, and I subscribe to Masterclass, that education program of all the videos you can do. And his Masterclass on direction and picking the shot is really, really interesting. And the way he always choreos first He doesn't storyboard like a lot of other directors do and come in with this, this is every shot I want and where I want it, where I want the camera placed. He'll rehearse on set and then come up with his shot structure. He knows a few of the shots he wants and storyboards those out, but if the actors say, hey, can I try it this way, he'll let them do that and then adjust his camera for their performance.
That's cool.
And that says a lot about a director to be able to allow that on set.
Well, and another thing that says a lot is the fact that he was an actor for a long time before he became a director. And all we're focusing on really is cast. And you mentioned that Tom Hanks was what made Splash. Well, even his first movie, Night Shift, was Henry Winkler and Michael Keaton. And that was a great cast. They were hilarious in that movie.
I will always remember Brain Flash put mayonnaise in the tuna. Instant tuna fish.
Right. But then he gets a movie like this where he can pick all these classic actors. This one's just like a giant tuna fish sandwich.
Yeah, and set near the ocean, so he'd just come off an ocean movie, so he's pretty good at that and can handle that. ILM did the special effects for this, which most of them hold up. Some of them do not, but most of them do. And we're
talking about it because we both just watched that ILM documentary too.
Yeah, Light and Magic on Disney. Highly recommend it for you guys out there. If you like tech, it's awesome. Scenes from the movie that you enjoyed the most or did not enjoy the most? We go back and forth if we do.
This is not even a scene, but for some reason it keeps jumping into my head. The nighttime boat scenes or any of the boat scenes remind me of Jaws. This movie's not only a Spielbergian science fiction concept, but there's a lot of small boat on the ocean where you're thinking, where are the sharks? But there's a lot of dolphins, no sharks.
Yep, a lot of dolphins. The movie opens with dolphins, actually.
Yeah, so he had to do a lot of animal work as well, which I don't know if he was familiar with.
And some of those are ILM. Some of those are robotic.
Okay. Interesting. That's funny.
One of my big scenes is the first confession, what I call the confession scene. When after he's peeked and seen her, the next scene on the deck. In the cabin when Dennehy's character pulls his arm and shows that he's one of them too. And then that next scene where Dennehy basically explains their mission. And just the way Gutenberg is reacting to it about, we're not from around here. Yeah, I gathered that. Yeah. He's just trying to maintain the whole time. But he's not over the top. He's not Police Academy zany. He's right at that good level of, I am in a really weird situation. I'm really about to jump over this boat, which I just did, and they rescued me.
Speaking of sharks, I was like, no, don't do that.
But I thought that was a great scene with all of them.
My favorite scene is the scene where Wilford Brimley's with his grandkid and telling him he's going to leave. And I'm choked up just thinking about it right now. But when I was watching it last night, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to wake Dennis up. because I'm about to start crying. That scene's amazing.
Him saying, amazing. And we won't grow old and we'll never die. And he's just, you can't come and I'll never see you again. Wow. You just go, oh my God. It's a great scene.
One of my favorite scenes are really not sci-fi scenes.
One of mine is the pathos scene, the whole effect and pathos scene when they lose the crewman. After the pool has been devastated with the old folks and they have to open one of the cocoons and watching the alien die. That was really well done. They didn't throw a bunch of dialogue into it and do a bunch of stuff or whatever. It was just everybody's reaction to it. And it was really well done.
And it's practical effects. It's not computer imagery. It's too early for that. You can see it in that picture behind me. It looks like a puppet, but it doesn't really look like a puppet in the scene.
It's a great design for the alien. And then the way they don't over dialogue it or over telegraph it or preach it or have to talk about it. Basically, it's just, you have to leave now. And I thought...
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say another scene that popped into my head is I loved the first time after the old guys are swimming in the pool and they're talking about having hard-ons and stuff. I was laughing so hard.
That was my next scene. It's the youthful vigor scene.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Like,
them walking back. And then the way they do the montage the next day about, you ready? Yes. And he turns around in the chair.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well, I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a great scene. And all the scenes with Jack Guilford, is that his name? As the negative Nancy, who has the wife that's slightly dementiaed out. And he's great in this movie. And I remember him from like Cheetos commercials. I don't remember him as much as an actor as I do comedic commercials.
Yeah, he did a lot of those. I don't know if it was his start, but his big hit was A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Was it?
He co-wrote that, and he's in it. Yep. That's Jack Guilford.
Okay. I always think of Zero Mostel.
Well, Zero Mostel was the lead. He was the other one. The father of the hero was Jack Guilford. He played the role.
Oh, that makes sense. He was a little bumbling.
Mousy,
older
bumbling.
guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they got to sing that classic, Everybody Ought to Have a Maid.
Right.
Which would work so well in today's environment.
If you're wondering why we're talking about this, folks, David and I have both done this play. David's done it twice. I've done it once. And I played Hero and hated it. Because it's the worst part in the play.
A little bit of a cipher role, yeah.
Well, I wasn't crazy about who I was cast opposite either. But
Details.
Another thing that I really love as far as scenes is the scene that you mention with the alien dying is juxtaposed with the scene of Jack Guilford's wife, I can't remember her name, dying.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that's really good symmetry there. Kudos, I'm sure it's in the script, but kudos to Ron Howard for the way it was shot.
Rose was her name.
Right. Yeah. Because she dies shortly after. So they lose an alien and the old folks lose an older person.
And it sets up the last act, but it's pretty well telegraphed from the very beginning that that's probably what's going to happen, is he's going to have regret. What I like about the plotting is even when he's given the chance after that, he says no. And I thought that was there was a lot of pathos there, a lot of emotion. Right. When they say, Bernie, come with us. And he goes, no, I'm going to stay.
It just dawned on me, I don't think you did a synopsis, did you?
It's 50 years old. People haven't seen it. Okay, so in a nutshell, you have a bunch of elderly people who are living in a retirement village area, several little separate houses and a community area and everything else. A few of them have been trespassing and sneaking to a nearby estate and taking dips in their pool, which is obviously still maintained and cleaned every week and everything else. Unbeknownst to them, some aliens have returned to pick up some crew members who were left there a few thousand years ago when Atlantis was still around, and they had to leave abruptly. So they've returned to pick up their crewmen. In order to do that, they have to charge these cocoons, and they do it in the pool, which is next door, and imbue the pool with life force, is what one person calls it. It has the after effects of these elderly people of being a fountain of youth almost for them. Not in a physical sense, really. In other words, they don't Benjamin Button it or regress or grow younger or anything like that, but their vitality is back and their strength and their energy and the sexuality and everything else, for good and for bad. And they show some of the bad in it, which is well done too. But we watch the rest of the movie, the implications of that, the moral question. If you are near the autumn of your life and you are given the option of a fountain of youth, do you take it? And then it trumps itself near the end when it's even more than that. Do you want to not only be young or feel young again, do you want to live forever and go with the aliens and do the whole Close Encounters thing? And it's a good segue to production, because I read that on set, they would have these huge discussions, the cast would, about would you do this or would you not? If this was real and you were offered this, kind of like you and I used to do about, okay, if the zombie apocalypse happens right now, where do you go?
What do we do? Yeah.
Do you get to the gun shop in time before you go to the island or whatever? But in this, it was, what would you do? And Jessica Tandy was big on almost like a Bernie sort of feel. She said, no, I wouldn't. I've lived my life. I've done my thing. Don Amici said, I'd do it in a heartbeat. So the moral underpinnings of this are really good. What do we pass on to our children? How are we treating our elderly? If you are given these options, what do you do? If you know your friends have a secret that is benefiting them that you're jealous of, do you tell everybody else about it and ruin their fun? So it's got a lot of emotional context to it, which really worked for this show. It works really, really well. It's a strong movie.
I think so too.
Yeah.
We can go on to cast if we're done with scenes. There's a lot of good scenes, but I don't really know that I need to.
No, cast is the key factor in this movie.
Right,
so yeah,
right, it is. I did have one other background thing. It says it was the first collaboration between Ron Howard and James Horner, and Horner did the music, and the music's really good in this movie. And he went on to do a lot of Ron's other movies, including Willow, Apollo 13, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and A Beautiful Mind. So they've had a good pairing for a while. James Horner, if I'm not mistaken, also did the music for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, didn't he? Which is
Yes.
some of my favorite music.
and if you enjoy it, you hear it in the boat chase scene. He pulled cues from Wrath of Khan and repurposed them in this movie.
Right, right. This movie stars Don Amici. Don was having a little bit of a resurgence in popularity in the 80s because of the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. However, he's an older actor. The only old credit I could find of his that I am aware of was Heaven Can Wait, which is another show that we were affiliated with. I wasn't actually in that one. My brother was. Anyway, so we have Don Amici, and he plays Art. We have Wilford Brimley in this. Wilford is, to me, one of the stars, really, of this movie. We know him, of course, from The Thing, where he played Blair, one of our favorite characters in that movie, as well as The Natural with Robert Redford. Did you know that he was a bodyguard for Howard Hughes?
Gosh, no, I did not know that, but that's a really cool trivia bit.
That's why I put it in there. As you said, he was only 49 years old at the time of this film's production. He was 50 when it was released. He had to have his hair dyed. That's why it looks almost blondish white in order to make him look more geriatric. This is a question I just have hypothetically to you. Do you think that Ron couldn't find an older actor with the chops to do the role? Why do you think they cast him and aged him?
I don't know anybody that he might have been up against or that people were considering, but I would pretty much guarantee that the audition blew everybody away. If he did even a tenth of what he does on the screen for this movie, I would probably cast him. Just because he is so... It's really, the story really is through his eyes. It's his grandson at the very beginning. He's like the linchpin for the rest of them. He's the motivator saying, yeah, we're going to go do it or we're not. Don Amici jumps up to that in the middle section, but then it's still his story.
Maybe it's also because he was the lead and had to carry more, and the older people they didn't want to overdo. Yeah,
Good point. He would have more scenes. He would be more on set. If you look at the sequel at all, it's his family and his return that is part of the second one.
Oh, yeah,
So
I've never seen.
he's our protagonist for the most part. So, yeah, somebody who's just a little younger but able to age up would be worth it just for the, like you said, the time constraint and investment.
And his character's name was Ben. Then we had Hume Cronin, who played Joe. Hume, we're no stranger to. Last season, we covered Shadow of a Doubt, which was a Hitchcock movie that he was in. He was also in Lifeboat, so obviously Alfred Hitchcock liked him. And he happens to be married to Jessica Tandy.
And both have many, many Broadway credits as well.
Right.
They were big Broadway stars. So.
Right. And he's great in it. He actually reminds me of my dad a lot when I was watching this movie. And like I said, he plays Joe. Next up, we had Brian Dennehy, as you mentioned. Brian had 185 credits on IMDb. Very recognizable character actor. The first thing I can think of him was maybe Looking for Mr. Goodbar. that I remember of his, but he was in First Blood, the Stallone movie that skyrocketed him after Rocky. He was in Semi-Tough and Foul Play, which I haven't seen in so long I don't even remember him in them.
Well, I don't remember him in Good Bar, but I definitely remember him in First Blood. That's what people would know him as. That's why I said it's countertype for him. He was the evil, cruel, vengeful sheriff in First Blood, hurting poor little vet Sylvester Stallone. Now he's the altruistic alien who offers the fountain of youth.
Right. He's also a big macho guy. And here he is playing an intellectual alien that's on a rescue mission. And it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Who's all in the suit and charming and smiling and all that.
Yeah. And his name was Walter. Then we have Jack Gilford, who we were talking about earlier with Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. He plays Bernie Lefkowitz. He was in Catch-22, which is essentially a comedy. He was in Caveman. That's the movie I remember him from most because I went and saw that several times when I was a kid. It's a Ringo Starr, Barbara Bach movie. It's hokey, but it's got Shelley Long in it, and it's got Jack Gilford in it.
Yeah.
He was in Save the Tiger, which I believe Jack Lemmon was nominated and maybe won an Oscar for. He and his wife, Madeline Lee, who I'm not familiar with, were blacklisted during the Hollywood blacklist of the 50s. So that's another reason why people may not know of him as much, because he did have a period when he wasn't working.
And he came from the world of Playhouse 90 and all of that to begin with in the late 40s, early 50s. But then he was blacklisted and didn't come back again until the 60s, sadly. And like I said, had huge success on Broadway as well. Was a writer as well as an actor.
He played Bernie Lefkowitz, by the way. That was his character name. Steve Guttenberg plays Jack Bonner, who is another lead. This movie has several leads in it. He's like the young lead, I guess you'd say, and Wilford Brimley is the old lead, and Dennehy is the alien lead. Steve Guttenberg, wow. He was first seen in a movie called Diner, or at least that was one of his early movies that put him on the map. I always associate him with those stupid Police Academy movies that came out in the 80s because that was like a cash cow for him, and it discredited him a little bit. I don't know, getting good roles.
Well, it depends on what you're saying. He's an Adam Sandler of his time.
I guess you're right, because most of what he does is comedic.
He's a comedy guy who always did comedy and never took it far, but pretty close to it with the Academy.
With the Academy movies, that's all those movies were farce, basically.
But he's in Short Circuit. He had some good films in there, Cocoon being one of them.
And 3 Men and a Baby.
3 Men and a Baby,
was pretty decent. I would not consider Short Circuit a good movie, though.
Well, yeah, okay.
I know, it's sci-fi, so you may have a little affiliation with, I don't know.
Five Alive.
Oh, no. He turned down the role of Peter in Ghostbusters in favor of playing Mahoney in Police Academy.
Man, I don't know if that was a smart... Well, I don't know, though. Murray is so good in that role, so it was fate. It's supposed to happen, I guess.
Right. Well, Now I'm going to lay out a history of why we don't see Steve that much. He is the king of bad decisions, and that was probably the first one. He also turned down the role of Josh Baskin in Big.
In Big?
Which went to Tom Hanks and put Tom Hanks pretty much on the map with Splash. He also turned down the lead in Sharknado, which he regretted when he saw what a cult hit it became. Because he probably could have used the work by then from turning down these major movies. But I'll get away from that. There was one other person considered for this role, and he would have been good too. And do you know who I'm talking about? He was just coming on the scene around the same time.
Tom Hanks.
No. Nicolas Cage.
No, hell no.
So I could have seen him doing it. I mean, think about it.
At the time,
it was shortly before Moonstruck.
Was this before or after Peggy Sue got married?
Around the same time. Okay. Peggy Sue and Moonstruck both came out in the late 80s. This came out in the mid 80s.
Right. So Peggy Sue was probably not out yet.
But it was also before Nick Cage started taking everything for a paycheck. We've talked about this before. Sometimes he's not Keanu, and he's not some of those that we really are wondering why they're famous. Nick did good stuff. He also just did bad stuff. He's like Bruce Willis. He wanted money, but he also wanted some good clout. So,
yeah, and I think a better way for me to think about it is Raising Arizona, which is one of my favorite roles he ever did. He could have played that sort of role in this.
Yeah, I could see him in it. I could see Tom Hanks in this role, too. But anyway, we'll move on from him to Maureen Stapleton, who played Mary, Ben's wife. And I know her face. But the thing I associate her with the most is that she was on the original Saturday Night Live as a guest host. And that's what I remember her the most from.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I have seen the original Saturday Night Lives probably more than any of the other Saturday Night Lives because I loved the original cast so much. And I just remember Maureen Stapleton being on there because they used to have unique guests on SNL back then. Lots of politicians and sports figures too, not just actors. But apparently she was in Reds, the Warren Beatty film, and was, I think, Oscar nominated. And she was in the movie Airport, which, of course, Airplane spoofed. But,
Airport was a good movie, though. I loved that movie. I thought it was a good
pretty
drama.
sure she was a Broadway actress, too. So that's probably where
she was. She was a Broadway actress and another one of the early Playhouse 90 type studio actresses at the time. And I also remember her from, she was like really associated with Barbra Streisand. They were like good friends or something. 3 movies together.
Probably did shows on Broadway together. Maybe she was in Funny Girl or something as an extra or as a background character.
Broadway actress, but yeah.
Oh, I know what it was. Contrary to speculation, she is no way related to Jean Stapleton, who played Edith Bunker. A lot of people think they're related, and they're not at all. And then we'll move on to Jessica Tandy, who played Alma. We, of course, know her from another resurgence in popularity in the 80s and 90s when she did movies like Fried Green Tomatoes, Driving Miss Daisy. We are not unfamiliar with her because we have covered her on the podcast. She was in The Birds, one of my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movies. And I have talked about her also on the side with Brando because she played the original Blanche Dubois on Broadway with Brando, and she hated him, just totally despised him. And I'm not sure if it was a jealousy thing or if he was just unprofessional, but he was very popular, and I could see why she would not like him. She's married to Hume Crone, as I mentioned, who's in this movie, and it's really sweet to see them play a couple. I was like, this is great.
They had a hugely popular show on Broadway that ran for years and years called The Gin Game.
I've heard of it.
And it was basically them as a couple at a retirement home, and they played gin every day.
Oh, okay.
And so that's where it came from. But I also, didn't she win for Driving Miss Daisy? I think she won the Oscar for that.
I'm pretty sure she did.
But yeah, she's phenomenal in this because Maureen Stapleton's character basically is the support for Wilford Brimley. She's his anchor, his rock, yada, yada. And you see that they obviously care and love each other, always touching, always hugging. Jessica played Alma, the one that realizes her husband's youth is returning, so is his infidelity.
Right.
And that's a huge twist in the last, second half of this.
Right. And the Maureen Stapleton's part doesn't really get a lot of exposure until the departure when they're making the decision to go, whereas Jessica gets a little more attention as far as that little subplot that you just mentioned.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's great. You just look at her face and you're like, holy cow, she is such an actress. So this is what surprised me when we were talking about this before we recorded today's episode, is I didn't remember Gwen Verdon in this movie because I probably didn't know who Gwen Verdon was back then. I know who she is now. I've seen the Fosse miniseries with her being played by Michelle Williams and Fosse being played by Sam Rockwell. Great miniseries, by the way, if anyone has not seen that. It's called Fosse Verdon. She was a dancer. She was an actress, but she was not very popular. She was in Damn Yankees. That's really what she's known for.
She was his muse. I don't think he would have ever been what he was and had the legacy he has had without Gwen Verdon.
Right. And speaking of infidelity,
there's a really cool documentary. It's about 45 minutes on All That Jazz, which has a lot with Bob Fosse and Gwen Verdon and the effect on that movie, him telling his own autobiography in a really weird, twisted way.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Recorded it the other day. I haven't watched it again. It's been a long time.
But great documentary. I remember when we first watched it back in the 80s, I was like, oh, that's that dancer lady.
She does dance in this. It's a dancer size class for old people.
And she has the big dance scene.
With Don Amici. They do the tango while everyone else is modern dancing, and they're being made fun of. Well, I have a little bit more on Gwen. Ron Howard had originally wanted another actress for this role that totally surprised me. Ooh. You know who that would be?
No.
You'll never guess. Joan Bennett, who played Elizabeth Collins Stoddard on Dark Shadows.
Wow.
British Dame Joan Bennett. I know her from Dark Shadows, so I'm very familiar with her. She was a very well-known actress way back almost to the silent era, if I'm not mistaken. But she got talked out of taking the role by her husband, David Wilde. Ron had Joan Bennett in his head when he was going to make this film, but I think it was a happy accident that he got Gwen.
Yeah, and good, too.
Right. That's all I have on cast. Oh, no, I'll say one other thing. I didn't put it in my notes. I forgot. But once I watched the movie, Tawny Welch is in this movie as one of the aliens. Do you remember her? She's Raquel Welch's daughter. She's beautiful. I was like, oh, my God, she looks just like her mother. And then I was like, why don't I have her in my notes? Because I usually do my notes before I watch the movie. And then I watched it and thought, I need to look her up this morning. So I looked her up, and she really stopped acting in the 90s. So there's really not much else about her, but she was great in this.
She went on to do a bunch of modeling, from what I understand. She was beautiful. I wanted to talk about the last lady because I looked her up a little bit just because she was Rose, who was the dementia lady.
Right.
She was born in 1917, and her first credit is 1974. So she was a hugely late bloomer to acting. Found out the reason why is she was married to an actor named Will Geer, who was grandpa on the Waltons, I guess. They had 3 kids. Well, they had 3 kids together.
Apparently, both Grandpa and Grandma Walton were gay, but I know for sure that Will Geer was. I don't know about Grandma. I'm thinking she was married to a gay man.
And she was also married to Laszlo Schwartz for a while, who was another actor, but she never got into the acting gig until later on, like after both of her divorces and everything else. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting that her story was like she was a late bloomer.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's probably why I didn't have her in my cast list, because she doesn't really have a big resume.
Yeah. And 2 things I have for casting are Barrett Oliver was David, the grandson.
Familiar.
He had just come off Never-Ending Story.
I didn't know if he was just a child actor or if he may have become an actor later in life, because he did.
He is in the sequel, but I don't think I remember him from anything else, really.
Yeah, I don't either. And he's not high on the cast list in IMDb, so that means he's probably not done a lot. Okay.
Right. And then I've got in my trivia notes, which is a good segue, I guess, that this was like a Howard family affair because Clint Howard is in it, his sister is in it, and his mother is in it.
Ron's big into the nepotism with his family. There's always going to be a Howard in there somewhere.
And I always remembered his mother in Apollo 13 played Neil Armstrong's mother or somebody's mother in it. And it's his mother playing the role. So I thought that was...
I just looked up Barrett Oliver, and he did have one other significant role early on. He played Victor Frankenstein in Tim Burton's Frankenweenie short.
Oh, the voice. Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, but awards. You mentioned there were some awards for this movie. Yes, it won 2 Academy Awards. Don Amici won an Academy Award for his performance. And it also won for visual effects, which was ILM, as we mentioned, who had not been on the scene, but a decade by then?
So was he nominated for, did he win for supporting or for actor?
Supporting.
Supporting.
Mm-hmm.
Was Brimley nominated at all, I wonder?
If he was, I don't have it in my notes. That's a good question, though, because I would think Wilford would have won. Don's great, but no one's better than Wilford Brimley in this movie.
Agreed. Yeah. Just for the amount of work he does in it. I don't know who he was up against or whatever, but I'm wondering if Don Amici was awarded as a legacy award. Because it was like his only time being nominated, right? Or something? First of the word.
I looked it up, and I want to say he had never been nominated before.
Right.
I'm not 100% on that. But like I said, he was having his little resurgence in popularity. And then just a few years later, Jessica Tandy had her resurgence in popularity as well.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where Hollywood decides they need to recognize these people.
Agreed. It was great that those roles were available. Older roles for older actors. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like that whole thing with women not being able to get parts at a certain time in history. Well, I would think older people would be even harder than just women. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It was also nominated for 7 Saturn Awards, including science fiction film, actors Cronin and Tandy, supporting actor Verdon, writing and music, but it only won for Best Director, Ron Howard. So I don't know what it was up against. I should have looked it up. Sorry about that. But there are scads of other nominations and sparse wins for this movie. However, it's not on the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die list, and I think that's an error. I think
agree.
this movie should be on there.
I agree. It's very heartwarming. It's very charming. It's very thematic. It's got some great effects, well told. But I do have in my trivia stuff, it's very hard to find. We found this on Internet Archive.
And I accidentally sent you the link to the sequel because I couldn't find it. And I was like, where is this damn thing?
Right. And I was so curious. So I looked up why, and yeah, it's not in hard print anywhere. It had the VHS release, but it doesn't even have a DVD release. And part of that is the music rights for it. I read that there are certain songs that they use and certain things with the Horner estate, and it just got tied up in a bunch of legal battles. And so you can't go buy the Blu-ray for Cocoon. And it's not streaming anywhere. And yeah, it's not streaming anywhere. It's not rentable anywhere. And found out that there are other movies that fall into that. Some of them I thought you'd find interesting. So these are movies that if you want them, you have to buy them somewhere. You cannot rent them, and you cannot find them on any streaming service or any streaming rights. Dogma.
Because the guy that did Tremors directed it, and we talked about Tremors last week. Or the
Dogma, the Kevin Smith movie. Exorcist, The Beginning, and A Few Good Men. All of those fall into rights classification issues. So you can't stream them, you can't rent them, but you can buy them somewhere.
There's other ones too. I can't think of them off my head, but usually it has to do with music.
Yeah. Well, we talked forever about heavy metal because we wanted to see that again in a DVD version, not in the VHSs that we had that were unwinding and old and aged and everything else. And it was because they had 17 musicians and their agents and their publishers that all had to agree.
Yeah.
So
I was watching Moonlighting the other day with Dennis. I've been rewatching it, and it's only 5 seasons. And there's a scene where David's mad, and he's in Maddie's BMW in a parking garage, and he just smashes that car, just drives it into all these concrete pylons or whatever in this parking garage. And as soon as it came up, I looked at Dennis. I said, this is one of the greatest uses of music I ever saw on television. They're going to use Jimi Hendrix's Manic Depression. And as soon as it started, it was a different song. I was like, what the fuck? I was so pissed because they couldn't get the rights to it. They had to put a new song in. And that's why Moonlighting also had trouble.
Yeah, it took forever.
On streaming platforms because David Addison was always singing Motown songs and stuff, and they couldn't get the rights to them. And it was difficult to match a song, especially if he was singing it.
Yeah.
And so that's why for folks that are Bruce Willis or Moonlighting fans, that's why it took so long for Moonlighting to finally get on Hulu, which is where it is right now.
It is really cool.
Mm-hmm. That's a huge segue.
That's great, though. It's all about rights and IP concerns and royalties and licensing and all that.
Yeah, but I remembered that song from seeing it air in the 80s and then was waiting for it to happen, and it didn't happen. I was so pissed off. I was like, this song doesn't work.
When I was first doing the research, I went, okay, if your royalty question was the breakdance song, then just cut that whole scene because I don't like that scene anyway.
No.
And so just cut
dumb.
that if that's one of your licensing things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty.
You mentioned some of the trivia. Wilfred Brimley was 49, but I also have Hume Cronin was a boxer when he was in high school and college.
Lightweight.
And in the scene with the orderlies where they try to restrain him, he literally knocked the actor out. They kept that shot.
I hope it was Howard.
No, it was the other one, but he literally knocked him out during the scene. Yep.
Knocked that gap out of his teeth. That's hilarious. I noticed how small he is in this movie. That's why he reminds me of my dad.
Yeah.
He must have been a lightweight boxer.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah.
The only other trivia I have, which is really interesting, was that pool is an exterior pool, and the production company built the structure around it.
That's why it's got such great lighting. They probably didn't put a roof on it.
Yep. They built everything around it for the movie and ended up encasing it and giving it a roof, and the owners loved it so much that they left it.
It looks like an aquatic center. It looks like a pool that you would have to have a membership to or something.
Right, like at a resort or something. That's what they adopted it. But I thought that was cool trivia for production to be able to do that. ILM had to recreate a miniature of the boat for some of the effects that they were doing. And I thought that was interesting at the time, too, practical effects.
We were talking scenes earlier, and I meant to mention I really like the spaceship design. I love when it takes off at the end, how the clouds spiral up with it as if they're caught in its wake. I thought that was a really cool effect.
Well, one of my things in here I love so much is ILM's cloud effects. I think are great. They're very reminiscent of Close Encounters.
And that's my first key is Close Encounters. That's funny that you said that.
Spielberg in general, but Close Encounters and E.T. are keys for this. E.T. came after, but the death scene with the alien, we're returning for a lost crewman, the posters up, the two poster designs use the same artist. If you put the poster for E.T. and the poster for Cocoon back to back or side by side, it's almost the same coloration, the same structure, everything.
How funny.
Yeah. But,
I don't have a lot of keys. I've already mentioned Jaws as well, just because of the boat, the small boat on the ocean at night, which is not really a key, but that's one thing that comes to mind. What else do you have? Maybe you'll stir some up in me.
Okay, so you Close Encounters, E.T. I've got one you'll like, Night of the Living Dead, because when they are doing we're going to attack, all of them are going to the pool, it reminds me of a Night of the Living Dead scene. It shows them coming across the field, and then it shows them all gathering up at the fence and pushing the fence.
Yeah, I do see that. Yes, for sure.
I was like, I wonder if Ron Howard went, these are zombies getting into the pool. Come on.
Maybe.
I've got another 80s movie, Porky's, because you cannot kneel down and look through a peephole without thinking of Porky's.
That is a very valid point. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but you're right. Steve Guttenberg did a few more films than that guy in Porky's, though.
Another horror one for me was Pet Sematary. And it really hit me when Bernie is carrying Rose across the field, her dead body.
It's exactly like the husband carrying his wife to bury her.
But it had that feel of, I'm too late to the party. That's another good scene. When Walter walks in and Bernie has Rose there and he's trying to get her to come back. And Walter goes, I'm sorry, Bernie, it's too late.
Well, that brings me to my logic stuff. There's a few logic things. I was like, why would he know who Bernie is?
Agreed.
And
why would he know his name?
Also, as far as sci-fi, I don't understand the whole pool charging the cocoons. I remember the scene where he got in and was like using his hand in the water.
Yeah, he took his skin off and did the whole...
So why couldn't he just do that again?
I think because too much of it was gone. They don't have enough... They'd all have to use up their pizzazz or whatever. I don't know. honestly. I don't know why.
That's why I said there's some logic that I just let it go over my head because I liked the movie.
Yeah, I wish maybe if it had been a mechanical piece instead of an organic piece. So remember the scene where they're all diving for the first time for the cocoons and Gutenberg's character is left on the deck by himself and he's playing with the machine and it starts going and almost shocks him and everything. If that machine somehow been linked to the pool and when they all come in, they end up damaging it. That would have helped with that plot hole.
And the fact that it had been like centuries, why did it take so long for him to come back? I don't know. That too.
Well, time travel takes a long time.
Not for the sequel.
No, they just pop back the next year, or about 10 years later. The sequel is part of this key.
Yeah.
That's a key to this, obviously, and trying to get the magic back.
And that was not Ron Howard, I assume.
No, not at all. The book, of course, a key to this, of what it was based on.
Is it called Cocoon, the book?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
I've also got a little bit of Bubba Hotep, an old folks' home where weird shit's happening.
You're so right. I don't know why I wasn't thinking of these things.
It's kind of totally different feel to Hotep.
Because Bubba Hotep's more horror and this is more sci-fi, but they're both old folks' homes. So, yeah.
And guys hoping that their penises would get erect and stuff. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, if I'm not mistaken, Elvis had a big old boil on his. At least in the book he did, I know.
Yeah. I've got So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, because that's the first key that occurred to me when all the dolphins do the big circle at the beginning and they're all welcoming the ship back. Which is...
what's his name?
Life, the Universe, and Everything.
Hitchhiker's
Guide. Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
Oh.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
I can't think of it either.
But yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And
Douglas Adams.
Thank you. And then the last key I have is just the Fountain of Youth myth in general and searching for the Fountain of Youth, which
it's literally water in this.
And in Florida. So there you go, Ponce de Leon and everything.
Right, exactly.
But also the religious allegories to this. There are times when the aliens fly, which is very angelic, and they're all these big things of light with big bright eyes.
Yeah, they glow too. I've got a picture of them there.
Angels being all altruistic, even though these people violated their space and essentially condemned their crewmen to another, 1,000, 2,000 years of being in the sea. Walter still offers this select group and 30 of their friends, come with us. Right. If you don't like it here, come with us. So I thought that was really an interesting, angelic, heavenly.
And unlike Close Encounters, where like as a young man, I don't think I would go. But as an old man, hell yeah. Why not?
That's like Close Encounters, the ending, which is also this too. Would you go? And you know me, I've said from the very beginning, oh, hell yeah. I would jump on in a heartbeat, always.
Right.
I felt that.
And I don't know that I would want to leave people I love when I'm younger, but I would definitely do it when you're in a retirement home and not far away from death.
Yeah.
So,
and my last one was the whole metaphor of you journey to the afterlife on a boat in water. That's very Egyptian, very early civilization thing of you pass on a boat.
No, I totally agree, but I don't know how in the hell I would write that down for a link as far as...
Well, just Greek mythology or Egyptian afterlife.
Egyptian death mythology.
Yeah. Because that was the whole Egyptian deal. We did it in Fibes. We talked about in Dr. Five. He wanted his wife on the boat to go to Egyptian heaven.
Give Chiron a coin and cross the river Styx.
So there we are. Cocoony.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it unless you had any other keys. I'm sorry I was so reluctant to have any. I don't know what happened to me on this one. I guess I was crying too much while I was watching.
You could not write through the tears.
I could not.
Right.
But I think it's safe to say that David and I both enjoy this movie 40 years later. This movie is now 40 years old. But I can remember us going to see it. And I want to say it was in the summer. It was like a summer movie.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
that's what we think. We want to know what you guys think. Do you remember this movie? Are we old geezers just basking in nostalgia, or is it good to you as well? Obviously, the effects may look a little dated now, but at the time they were state of the art. And just let us know down in the comments, or if you know of anything else you want to tell us, we'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed what you see today, we have other shows out there on YouTube. If you're listening to us on the podcast app, you can also go to our website and see a list of all our seasons and all the movies we've done in the past.
Yep.
And if you really want to help support us, you can hop over to Patreon. We've got shows over there. We've got free shows. We've got subscription-based shows. We've got a lot of stuff over there as well. All pretty much video, except for some really early stuff that was audio. And other than that, David, I guess I'll be seeing you next week. Where are we going next week?
It's probably somewhere scary.
Yeah, it'll be somewhere scary, hopefully.
Okay. All right. I'll see you in Scary Land.
Okay, sounds good.
Right. Bye.
All right, bye.
Start the car. Johnny has the keys.